Hello, everyone. Looks like we're back for consideration number 2. What is the second thing you should consider before writing a novel series? The second thing to consider before writing a novel series is what are the potential profits of a novel series in comparison to standalone books? There's acorns falling all around me, so I might get hit while I'm trying to record this. Anyway, so online, there are people who will tell you there are trains of thought uh, that will suggest that writing a novel series is more profitable than writing a standalone book or several standalone books. The reasoning behind this is as follows. Let's say you write a book and the profit margin on that book is $2. Okay. So it's a standalone book. You're going to make $2. Then you write a second book. And the second book, it's about a very different topic. Okay. Well, the person who bought your first book, they might like that topic, but it doesn't mean that they're going to like the second book's topic. So they probably won't come back for it. Now, if your third book is closer to the topic of the first one, maybe the first book was about uh, serial killers, and the second book is about pirates, and the third book is also about serial killers. Well, then, the person who bought the first one, if they liked it, they like serial killer stuff, they're probably going to come back for the third one if they see it. But that second one about pirates, maybe that's not their thing, so they're not going to buy it. Now, if you're writing a novel series and the first book is about serial killers, the second book's about pirates, the third book is about serial killers, there's a chance that the person who liked the first book, they're going to potentially give the second book a chance. They might say, oh, well, pirates, I don't know, that's not really my thing. But it is the second book in this series, so it's clearly attached to the first one. I'll give it a chance. Maybe it's, I don't see what the connection is, but maybe it's there and it's cool. People will suggest that if you have a series, the number of books that you have in the series, effectively it's just a multiplication of what your profits are going to be. So let's just say that all of your books have a $2 profit. That means if you write 5 books, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, whoa, it's $10. Okay, well then I'm going to buy all 5 books, and that means you're going to make $10 off of me, one guy. And that means you could say that if you sold, I don't know, if you got 100 people to show up and buy your books, well, then you could just multiply that 100 by however many books are in your series. If you got 5 books in your series, 100 times 5. If you got 10 books in your series, well, that's 100 times 10. And you can just keep multiplying it, and you can get these really big numbers, and it sounds really awesome in your head. So if you get 100 people to buy all 5 of your books in your book series, and you get $2 for each sale, hey man, that's 500, or sorry, yeah, that's 500 times 2, it's $1,000. If you can get 100 people to buy your 10 book series, $2 a piece, hey man, that's like what, $2,000? That's pretty crazy, right? You'd practically be rich. Well, here's the thing. This line of thinking has a serious flaw to it. That flaw is that you're assuming that just because somebody bought your first book, that they're going to buy all of your books. This goes back to what I was saying in my first video. The success of your series really depends on the success of your first book. If you wrote 3 standalone books, okay, let's say a serial killer book, pirate book, and then another serial killer book, people can come around and they can skip that middle book. They don't need it. It's not really their thing. They can jump it and go to the third one, something that looks like it would interest them. When you have a series, okay, they may like, the reader may like your first book, but if the second one doesn't interest them, then they're not going to buy it. And if they're not going to buy the second book, they're not going to just jump over the second book and go to the third in a series and just keep reading like it's no big deal. Like, oh, I don't need the details in the second book. I'll be okay without it. If you have 3 standalone books, then you can have people come in and out of your backlog of books and just buy randomly, and it's okay. But if you have a series, that's not a thing. People may think that the cover of book 3 is really cool. That may catch their eye, but they're not just going to buy book 3. They're going to see it's the third in a series. They're going to have to go back and buy book 1 and book 2. This means that it doesn't matter how cool the cover of book 2 is, or how cool the story and premise is, what the plot and the big climactic battle or whatever in book 3 is. None of that matters. If book 1 isn't good, if it's not catching people's eyes, no one's ever going to get to book 2 and book 3. There's also, it's just the way things work. But even if, like, let's say you got 100 people. So let's say you have 5 books. Okay, you got 5 books, and let's say you got 100 people to buy book number 1. Okay, so you make, let's go with the $2. You make $2 off of all those sales. Wonderful. That was book 1. When you release book 2, of the 100 people that bought book 1, let's say that 90 of them come back and buy book 2. So you've lost 10 people. For whatever reason, 10 people didn't come back and buy book 2. So you made 100 sales, then 90 sales. When you get to book 3, of the 90, maybe you lost another 10 people. So you made 100 sales, 90 sales, 80 sales. When you get to book 4, something happened in book 3, and people just didn't really care for it, whatever. And so maybe you lost 30 people. So now you were at 100, 90, 80. Now you're down 30 people. So you're sitting only at 50 sales for book 4. And then you get the same reduction. You lose another 30 people by the time you get to book 5. So yeah, you got 100 sales on book 1, but by the time you got to book 5, only 20 of them came back and stuck through the entire series. Now, if you had 5 standalones, then that initial excitement of something new, a new adventure, the people who saw the book 1, maybe book 1's about serial killers, and you got 100 people to come around and check out this book about serial killers. Cool. Then maybe your second book, which is a standalone, maybe it's about pirates. And the 100 people who bought your first book, maybe like 1 of those people might come back and just check it out because, hey, it's the same author. But there's not really a correlation, so maybe they're not interested in it. But you could potentially get a whole nother 100 people out there who want to come back and or who want to come and check out this pirate book. Then maybe you release your third book, and it's about a failing relationship between like a soldier and some woman. Okay, well, it's like romance, not really going to appeal to the serial killer audience, not going to appeal to the pirate audience. But hey, you could get a whole nother 100 people, maybe even, 200 people. It's just 200 totally new people who have never read your work. They'll show up and check out this other topic. They'll check out this one-off single book, this standalone book about a soldier, struggling with a relationship. And this process would continue for book 4 and book 5 of your catalog of standalone books. You could potentially be getting 100 people here, 100 people there, 200 people here, 90 people there, and so on. Whereas with the series, now you have to worry about having amazing sales off of one book, the first book. And then you've got to make sure that that amazing book is so amazing that it hooks all of those readers and keeps them coming back. In addition to, over time, people have to keep coming back and checking out your first book. This is where you run into the issue or the danger of leaning too hard into trends. Maybe this year, when you release your first book in the series, there's this super popular trend for wizards and witchcraft. And so your first book is a big success. And then you release the second book and the third book and so on. But as the years go on and people keep coming back for your later books, years pass, the trend, it fades. And as it fades, it becomes boring. And then it becomes like dated and cringy. And so what happens is, let's say 10 years from now, you're releasing the sixth book in your series. And you want people to buy the sixth book, people who have been fans of your series, but you still want to make new fans. And so you need new people to get on board with the first book. But the first book, it's all about this series, this trend that was popular a decade ago. People don't care about the wizard stuff anymore. And so now your wizard series, it's not appealing to people. And so you might be getting returning readers. Maybe let's say you sold the 100 books, and maybe all 100 people keep coming back every time. And if so, that's wonderful. That's awesome. If you can keep getting every single reader to keep coming back and buy the fourth book and the fifth book and the sixth book, that's cool. But you really need to get new readers to come around. And you can't really market your sixth book in the series. Like, come on out today and buy the sixth book in the series. No one's going to do that unless they've read 1 through 5. So when you have a series, you are just glued to book 1. And you have to continuously promote book 1. You have to keep getting people to come back to buy the first book in the series to begin the journey. If you're writing standalone books, maybe this year it's all about wizards. And you're like, hey, cool. And you pump out a wizard book. And then 3 years from now, maybe it's all about pirates. And so you're like, I'm going to put out a standalone book about pirates. And you can just keep running from trend to trend and try to, really capitalize on what's popular. Not the best idea, but it's something to consider. Man, this creek is bone dry. Let's walk it. Well, we won't get far. There's trees and stuff everywhere. But what I'm getting at is people think that can you not? I'm filming. Unless you want to hear me yell over the birds. I guess we're not walking this short creek stretch. So the point is that there's people who think that writing a novel series is going to be like a cheat code to make better profits, that you can just easily multiply your money faster. And that's just, in my opinion, very wrong. If you write a book this year, you can sell it practically to anyone who's interested in it. They can buy it today. You can make profits today off of that book you just wrote this year. But if that book is part of a series, you're not going to make any sales unless the buyer has already bought the other books. Unless you find somebody who's willing to, like if you're at like a convention or something and you're like, I just wrote this book, last week, or I published it last week. It's brand spanking new. It's the 4th book in the series. Unless someone's willing to pick up 1 through 3 that day as well, and they're going to walk off with a whole stack of books, no new person who walks up to your table is going to buy that book. So when it comes to a series, there are diminishing returns. You're going to have less and less people coming back to buy the later books. That has nothing to do with you being like a terrible writer or anything. That's just a fact. No matter what series it is, that's the way it is. So in an effort to counter this diminishing returns for a novel series, there are other words of wisdom out there, things that you'll find on the internet, who suggest that you make the profit margin of your first book practically zero. What they will suggest is that maybe the profit margin of book 2 and 3 and whatever, maybe they are like $2, maybe $3 per book. That's what you're getting for each sale. But they'll say to make the profit margin of book 1 like literally 5 cents or maybe a quarter. Make it as cheap as you can get it. And the thinking behind that is sort of like the thinking of a drug dealer. So the way drug dealers tend to do it is they give you like your first drugs, your first batch or whatever, for free or very, very cheap. And then once you get addicted to the drug, hey, you got to come back. You got to get your next fix somewhere. Surely you're going to go back to the same guy that gave you the good stuff the first time. And that's when the drug dealer actually gives you a real price and makes you pay for it. And then they just, I guess, run it up or whatever they do. So sure, that probably works just fine when you're like a drug dealer. But jokes aside, reading books isn't a drug. Get off of me, spiderweb. Reading books isn't a drug. It's not an addiction. So I don't see that being too good of a policy. What you would effectively be doing is basically giving away your first book for free or almost free, hoping, expecting people to come back and actually pay for the second and the third. And they might, but that's, I don't know. I don't like the idea of you working really hard on something and then giving it away for free. That's basically what the music industry has become. You give your music away for free, and then if people like your music, then they'll come back and buy your merch. They'll buy your shirts and your hoodies and whatever. The music industry has become the clothing industry. Now, there's another motivation for pricing your first book really cheap, and it's technically not a it's not just a first book thing. It's technically an all book thing. And so this word of wisdom is, if you price your book really cheap, people will not only be more likely to buy it, but they'll be more inclined to buy it sooner. So as soon as it hits the market, people won't hesitate. It's cheap. They'll just grab it up. And then if they buy it faster, then they're more likely to read it faster. Makes sense? And then if they read it faster, then they're more likely to review it faster. So the idea is make the book cheap. It quickens the pace for people to buy it and read it, and thus it makes it quicker for you as the author to get some reviews on, say, Amazon or wherever. And those reviews will help sell other books. The people who promote this idea will then suggest that over time, a couple months down the road, once you are getting your sales and you're getting your reviews, what you do is you begin to, because you can go back in and you can actually change the price of your book after its release date. So you can go in and, like, maybe you're selling your book for, let's say, $5 or something, and then that you're getting like nothing, you're getting like 5 cents or something. Then maybe a few months later, you up it to $6. And then, a few months later, you up it to $7. And so slowly you keep bringing up the price of your books. And the idea behind that is you made it cheap in the beginning so that people would take a risk and buy a book with no reviews. They read it, they give you reviews, and then as your book starts getting sales and reviews, it starts to become more established, more trustworthy, and this will potentially increase the number of people. It'll motivate other people to buy your book and give it a chance. And so as people feel more comfortable buying your book, you then kind of counter it. You or take you benefit from it. You take advantage of it by increasing the price of it. It's like, well, if it's more likely people are going to buy it, then they're not going to be so shooed away by the prices going up a little bit. Well, the thing about that is you're more likely to have more people buying your book when it's brand new. Usually it's like a big pop. And then once it's like a pop and you get that initial spike of sales, it then kind of dwindles down into oblivion. And so if you're already having diminishing returns in regards to how many people are buying that book, upping the price, it's not making you more money. It's only really just kind of, it's sort of like fighting inflation. Think of it that way. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole and confuse you. But anyway, now you might be thinking, well, geez, he's not making it sound very appealing to write a novel series. He's not really selling me on the idea. Well, that's not my goal. I'm not here to encourage you or to motivate you to go out and write a novel series. That's not what this is about. If you just really want to write a novel series, I mean, you do you. If anything, I am trying to break the illusion that you might have that writing a novel series is going to be easy. That's effectively going to be easy money. And that's not reality. That's not the way it is. Um, sure, you can make profits from writing a novel series, but it might be more profitable to do standalones, and the standalones would be less work. If you want to write a novel series, you have to really want to write a novel series. Woo! Little blue jay feather. Stick that in my pocket. I got a collection up at the house. Just random feathers I find. But anyway, so what I'm getting at is with writing a novel series, you gotta love it. You gotta want to do it. It's more work than solo standalone books, and it's probably less profitable. I guess the benefit or safety net of a series versus standalone books is let's say you have like the 5 books and they're all standalones. Maybe you sell 100 copies of book 1, but the other 4 books that are about 4 other things, sure, it's possible that 100 people, 100 random other people will come around for each one of those books and maybe more, but it's more of a, not a gamble, but it's up in the air. You don't know. Those people may never manifest. They may never just appear and show up and find your book. But if you can get 100 people to buy book 1 and they know it's a series, then there's a bit of a comfort where it's like, okay, I know that potentially those 100 people will come back. They might not, but at least 100 people know I exist, know my story exists, and might find it interesting enough to buy book 2. Unfortunately, if you're releasing your books and writing your books slowly, like over many months and years, you can run into this issue where you're on book 4 and you're trying to keep the story going. You're really delving into it and you're trying to keep this wonderful world alive. And you got like 5 sales of book number 3. And if only 5 people came back to buy book 3, you can't really expect anything more from book 4. You know, if you're about to release book 4 and only 5 people bought the last one, best case scenario, those 5 people come back and buy book 4. You're not going to have 5 people buy book 3 and then have hundreds of people show up and buy book 4 and think it's this great book and it just takes off. Because if they haven't read books 1, 2, and 3, they're not buying book 4. At least with the standalones, you can always build yourself up. You can hype yourself up and have high morale and be like, all right, man, the first 2 books, unfortunately, they were duds. They didn't take off like I wanted. I thought they were really good stories. I thought they had great potential, but they just didn't do it. But maybe this book, maybe this will be the one that really catapults my writing career. If you have standalones, then that's something that can help you sleep at night. If you are writing a series and things aren't going well, you have to really start weighing your options. You have to really start analyzing what's important in your life. Do you really want to tell this story? Even if only 4 or 5 people are reading it? Do you want to dedicate literally years of your life, all that time and money, all that effort to pump out this story that just no one seems to be interested in? Or are you just going to cut your losses, quit, and write something new? Some authors will take a break from their series and write something else. But I don't, I think this is not good, because I feel like it's a bit of a betrayal to the fans who are, fans of your series and they're waiting. If I bought your first, second, and third book, and I'm an avid fan, I think your book is great. I'm really excited to see more of your series, and I can't wait for book 4. And then I start seeing you posting about some other story. I'm going to be like, what the hell? Where's book 4? Why are they writing this other thing now? And then, you might spend a year or two writing something new, so you could just take a break from your series. And then when you finally get around to writing book 4, it's been like 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 years. I might be done. I might have forgotten you exist, moved on with my life, because I haven't interacted with your social media page or whatever in years. I don't get any notifications. I don't see anything you post for years. It's like you don't even exist. You may as well be dead. And then when you finally release that 4th book, I, an avid reader who really wanted more of what you had to offer, I don't even see it. I don't even see that it's available. Or worse, maybe I do, and then I'm just like, yeah, I don't really want to go back and reread all that. I don't want to have to reread 3 books just so I can get the 4th one. Some people do, but it's something that you as an author have to risk. Well, I reckon that's all I got for this video. Guess I'll head up to the house, edit this footage, post a video, and then get back to editing my writing. It's a whole day of editing videos, editing manuscripts. Fun stuff. Anyway, hope I see you in the next video. Later.